Oh my God! Yes, you. I'm so sorry. A long day.
I called him back. I told him that.
Yeah, we played a couple times this year.
He called me and said that.
And I was in Florida.
Yeah, right.
It's you. It's you.
It's 7 o'clock. Welcome to our March 18th council meeting. If we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Virginia, can you do roll call?
Present.
Present. Here.
Here. Here.
Here.
Hey, Some community, it's a nice big room here today. Nice to see everyone. Community announcements. The Borough of Morrisville received $247,444 for curb ramps at the 8 intersections along West Palmer. These are the ramps around Grandview Elementary and the middle high school. And these were through the Department of Community and Economic Development Multimodal Transportation Fund program for the design and construction of PennDOT and American Disability Act. The project is scheduled to begin design upon receipt of the executed grant agreement. That's good news. Right, Jacob? Tree policy. Last month we had a resident come about the trees, and I know there's some confusion about the trees. I know that through the years, through prior councils, there were different policies, but the tree policy stands that the maintenance and removal of trees are the responsibility of the homeowner, including the area between the sidewalk and the curb, known as the verge strip or the hell strip. The permits may be needed to remove trees on homeowner property, and permission is needed to plant on the hell strip. So please take note of this tree policy and do what you need to do accordingly. The residential rental letters went out on 2/18. So far, we have some good responses. We've had a few disgruntled landlords, but in overall, the response has been great. On April 5th at 10 a.m., the Morrisville Little League Opening Day Parade starts at Summerseat. There's a rain date at Saturday, April 12th. It ends at the Island, so please come see the kids. I think this is going to be, what is it, the 1955? So how many years is that? 70 years since the last time we won the World Series Cup, so it would be great to win again. April 19th, 10 a.m. to noon, Morrisville Borough Easter egg hunt at Williamson Park, rain or shine, canceled if it's a torrential downpour. April 19th, 10 to 4, Earth Day festivities at Colvin's Ferry Park with Il Capuli, Tuam Wozili, Hummingbirds of the Earth. That's always a nice ceremony, so please come watch them. The traffic study on South Pennsylvania Avenue started Friday, March 13th, and that will continue for 2 to 3 weeks. And the engineer will discuss that a little further, but it's to look at some traffic calming and devices that we can do in order to alleviate some of the speeding in the first ward. So we have some board openings. Please email your letters of interest to office@morrisvilleborough.org. There's the EAC has an opening, and there are some library board openings. There was a planning commission opening, and we have a letter of interest from Cheryl Vogel. Do I have any nominations? I will nominate Cheryl Vogel. Any other nominations? All in favor of Cheryl Vogel? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay, welcome Cheryl Vogel to the Planning Commission. There are some things I want to discuss. There's a lot of misconceptions that are being printed on Facebook, and that's great. You know, everybody has their opinion, but when there are falsehoods, it gets a little daunting and it gets discouraging. For instance, there was a post about Williamson Park that the borough was putting up a $500,000 match for Williamson Park, which is just not true. It has a lot of misinformation in it. We got funding in the form of $500,000 in a state fund, and so then there was a 50% matching fund, but that's going to be provided by the value of the land. In no way is the borough giving $500,000 to a matching fund to get $500,000. I'm sorry, did I say? Oh, I'm sorry, I meant Patriots Park. So if you have questions, I'd really like for people to start calling the borough and asking instead of just relying on Facebook, because I know people may only hear a tidbit of information and just run with the information and think of it as being true when it's really not. One of the other things that started coming up is about events. It was being posted all through Facebook that the council was not going to allow the seniors to have an event at Williamson Park. That too is not true. The borough handles all events. They will take the application for events. The event for the car show from the senior center was put into the borough on February 18th, which was the night of our meeting. The borough then goes through and works with the chief of police to figure out what needs to be done. So it would have been on tonight's meeting, except for that the senior senator decided to pull back the application. So it's not that council didn't allow it to happen, it's that the seniors decided to change their mind. One of the other things that I keep hearing is that this council, most particularly me, Catherine, I don't know, have you heard anything from the senior center about anything?
A check was given for the deposit for the stage, like in December. So, and I know that Kathy came in here in January, but prior to that, she kept going in and saying that the reason they couldn't accept her application was the first one was because of the baseball. They didn't have the schedule. So she went to the baseball people and they got called and put in their schedule so that we could set a date. And then we were told that you couldn't take the application because you hadn't done the fee schedule, so you didn't know how much to charge. So then we were waiting on that. In the meantime, after that space of time, that we found out the rain date for opening baseball would have been on April 12th. So there's no way that it could do that and the car show, because there'd be too many people in the parking lots. So then the nice gentleman that puts this on all the time, Wayne Stamp, for revenue, that brings in quite a bit of revenue for the senior center, quickly found the people at Morrisville Tavern to open it up so we could have it there, which is great. We still raise money. The thing is, we usually make almost $1,000 off food, and we can't serve food, so we'll have to make it up in other raffles. So, but we know at this point we can't have it at the parking lot because it's too messed up right now. So it does have an impact.
So it wasn't council that prevented it from happening?
Council never saw it.
Okay, thank you. So one of the other things that I heard is that council, most likely me, is trying to close the senior center. And I just want to say that is emphatically untrue as well. Mr. Dillon and I, as well as the engineers, have been working with the county in order to try to fix the parking lot of the senior center. So until that parking lot is fixed, it has to be closed because it's dangerous for the seniors to be walking on uneven ground. However, no one on this council is trying to close the senior center, and anyone who is putting that out on Facebook is inaccurate and misleading to you.
Can I say something about the parking lot? Half the parking lot is owned by the county. And originally, they thought they had enough money because all they were going to have to do is resurface it. But when the study came out, the reason, one of the problems is it's caving in is because of stormwater damage. And so that changed the whole composition of what money they'd had and the grant that we worked on about 2.5 years ago. I met with the county last week on the parking lot, and they're reconfiguring the part that they own and to put more parking near the door and what they can use for it. And that'll start in the spring of this year. The other side is what the borough owns. And I know you did put a grant in to help with that, but that's not going to happen for quite a while. So just getting this will help a lot, but it will impact how people can come in. It's a scary time. What? What? No, Helen, or we put in the grant for, didn't you put in one for?
No, we're working with the county right now, Mr. Dillon and myself and the engineers, in order to find money in order to fix the parking lot. They certainly are looking at changing the parking lot configuration and using the land that the county owns instead of the parking lot in order to create additional parking. But it's just the misinformation that is being posted, Catherine, that is really disconcerting. and needs to kind of stop, because people run with this kind of information and it's just not right and it's very misleading. So last month we had a resident talk about an EIT. So I'll be honest, I did not vote for the EIT. There are some here on council that did not vote for the EIT. There are others on council that did. So in everyone's packet, there's some analysis that Mr. Dillon put together to show what counties and what towns are doing as their EIT, what percentages are being in the school, what percentages are being for the townships. So most of the surrounding towns around us have EITs. There are a few that do not. Yardley and Lower Makefield do not, but I understand Lower Makefield is looking into having an EIT. So I think the residents that are impacted the most with the EIT are the ones that live in New Jersey or work in New Jersey but live in Morrisville, as New Jersey does not have an EIT. So we're going to be looking to see how many residents are impacted by that, and then council, we should have a discussion what we want to do about that EIT. Do we want to reduce it? Do we want to keep it stable? Anybody have any thoughts now? I know this is putting everyone on the spot, but these are discussions that we'll have over the next several months.
I think it definitely needs to be looked at. The answer isn't always to tax people more. So I'd like to really evaluate it with council and figure out if there is a better path forward.
Okay.
I have to say I agree. Especially for those of us who are impacted with the additional cost of flood insurance. And I know, Jacob, you've been looking into getting that rectified, but until that's rectified, it is incredibly expensive for those of us who are impacted already with the flood insurance, but then on top of that, an EIT. So to speak to everyone as a resident, there are those of us who are self-employed and or work somewhere where there isn't an EIT. I can see and understand the idea that if you're already paying an EIT because of where you work, it would be nice for those dollars to come here to Morrisville. So this is not an easy answer. But to echo Luke, taxing folks more is not always the way. We have exorbitantly high school taxes as it is as a borough, and we have a lot to fix here in Morrisville. I'm not sure exactly what those answers are, but I think it certainly warrants looking into a little more in depth than it seemed as though it had been looked at before, at least what was said to the public. Because at the time I was in the public, I wasn't up here, so I don't know what all information was shared, but being a part of the folks out there at the time, I didn't see much information on what was looking into. So I would like to see us look into more. I think we have a responsibility to do that now.
Absolutely, and I agree with both of you. And I think this time around, it's time that we educate our residents as well and be more transparent and let them know. Because again, when you work in a town or a borough that has an EIT, and if your town does not, then your that money goes straight to the town that you work in. Yes, there are some exceptions where Philadelphia, they trump all, they take it. New Jersey does not have one. And then if you're self-employed and you live in Morrisville, then you wouldn't be charged one. So there's trying to get that data together and then show the residents. Unfortunately, it does, being taxed hurts us, right? But I'd rather see it come back here to Morrisville than to go to somewhere else. So I look forward to gathering up that data and taking a look at it and then sharing it with all of you.
And if I could add one more thing, for those of you who don't know, I won't even go there. Let's just say this. When a homeowner sells their property, it is something that is looked at. So as folks are trying to sell their properties and attract buyers, that's a concern as well, because we already have a high school tax. And then you add to that an EIT, folks are looking at that. So that makes an impact on the residents who intend to sell as well.
Can I speak? Yes. I came on council we were just voting on the EIT, and I had, prior to coming on council, I came to all the budget meetings. I came to anything public. I read your budgets, and we were in the hole. We were running in the red. We couldn't pay our bills, and we were in trouble. And so that is the reason when we did prior to me coming on, they had done a lot of research, and we opened it to the public for comment. Now, I'm a senior citizen. I live on Social Security and a small pension. I get it. I'm a homeowner. I understand extra tax, but I do feel that it has reduced. The last 2 years, we've reduced our home tax, and so without EIT, it would have a huge impact on what we would be able to provide for this town. So it's time to look at it again. I don't have a problem with that, but I think we might end up the way we were 4 years ago, and that would be a very sad thing.
The only difference from 4 years ago is we now have a borough manager that is very conscious of the budget. He's very good at finding money, and he's working off of everything that is happening in town. He's working off of grants. So I've never seen so much grant money come into town. So kudos to Mr. Dillon for that. Wow. Okay.
When council's working together, that's the only, I said that from my first meeting, just as long as we work together. And that was one of the big reasons in my mind that you had to proceed with that 500,000 that you got for Patriots Park. You got it in year 2020, and you're going to lose it as of a couple months ago. So I think we've been able to get that money back on the table, because if you start giving the money back, you're not going to get other monies. So I think we're starting to move things along, and hopefully council stays united. We can get a lot of things done.
Thank you.
Real quick, I don't have any other Morrisville resident. I work in Newtown Township, and I think that is actually a benefit to Morrisville with the EIT, right? Because I pay it in Newtown, but Morrisville reaps the rewards. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
I know that's not everybody.
I think we have a lot of folks that live in Morrisville that work in New Jersey a lot, and we have a lot of folks that work in Philadelphia. So just something to think about.
So in the next couple of weeks, we'll be looking into it, and we'll be looking into the EIT dollars, and hopefully we could get something out to the public. If it doesn't if we don't reduce it and keep it as is, at least you'll have a better understanding of if it's not coming in Morrisville, where would it be going. So I'm going to hand it over to the mayor. He has the Veterans Pole flag.
Thank you, Council President. So in addition to my many hats, I'm also the chaplain of the Fairless Hill Elks down the street on Bridge Street. Being so connected to Morrisville, they're right over the line. They should be in Morrisville, right? Looking to create that partnership back into the Morrisville Borough. And one of the things that was brought up was doing a flag dedication for a fallen veteran. So the team brought it to me, and I brought it then to council to talk about. I don't know if you've seen around in other municipalities, the hometown hero flags that you would see. And it would be nice to each year dedicate one of those to a Morrisville born and raised resident who sadly lost their lives in the line of duty. To thank them for their service and their dedication to our country, it would be nice to put a flag up in their honor. Here it does say Bridge Street, but as we were talking about it some more, what better way than to put it around Patriots Park, as our Patriots here of Morrisville. So the Elks would take on the cost of the flag and the hardware. The one thing that we would ask, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you yet, John, but if Public Works would be able to help hanging the flags, that would be great. And going forward, the Elks would fundraise for the additional flags each year. If for any reason they are a nonprofit, so if they come where we're falling short, then obviously we'll come back to the borough and see what we could do or any additional fundraising I can help out as mayor to make sure it gets put up. But ultimately, the expense would be put onto the Elks, except for if Public Works would be able to help hang the flags for us. The flags have a life expectancy of about 6 to 7 years if they're hung all year long. So if we then took them down each year, maybe put them back up in Memorial Day, take them down right after Labor Day. I don't know. We can talk about that, or just leave them up all year around. They'll last for about 6 to 7 years. And if it's shaded over there a little bit more, which we want to do with the plans back there, they could last a little bit longer. So I welcome any questions you may have.
So would the Elks be replacing the flag should something happen? Should they get torn?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yep,
the
we would
Elks.
fundraise for that to replace.
So I know Virginia and some of the office staff were talking, and one of the things they said is there would probably have to be some rules about who gets a flag. So it would be a vet, it would be a Morrisville born and raised, and they would also have died in the line of service, correct?
Correct, yep.
Okay. What do you need from council? Or do you just need it on the agenda, or does council want to discuss it?
You got it.
Council think about this?
So what I'm looking for, council, is the support for the Elks to be able to do this and going forward each year. I would appreciate it. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer.
There are a lot of towns that do this for their vets. I think it's a great thing anytime a municipality wants to recognize the vets from their municipality. I think that's a great thing. I'm a vet myself. And
For your service.
I didn't say it for that, but thank you. And not to take away from what you said, but thank you. I think it's good to recognize the sacrifice. And I think Patriots Park is a fitting location.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Mayor, you gave an example, I think in our emails. Yes, those are beautiful. Would it be similar to that?
It would be similar to this.
Yeah, they're very attractive.
I don't know if anybody can see it. I do have some additional notes on here. So, but it's like you would see anywhere around. I know Warminster, they do it in their community park. I was driving around, actually found out it was Ridley Park, not Swarthmore, but they have it all around town on their poles as well. So we'd appreciate that support to honor our fallen heroes.
Okay, so we'll put it on, if you could just put a little blurb together for the office staff so that they know the rules and how it's going to work, and we'll put it on next month's agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
We have Jacob from Gilmore and Associates with the engineering report.
You know what I want to hear, Jacob.
I'll get there. All right, so hello everyone. I'm just going to run down through all the things that are currently on your agenda tonight, and then I'll touch base on some other projects we're working on. So as Helen mentioned there, Morrisville Borough received the grant money from DCD, and those are for those curb ramps. We're still waiting for a grant agreement. We won't start.
Jacob, is that on the mic?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Now I can, yeah.
I'll move a little closer.
Thank you.
So yeah, as council president there announced, the DCD gave the $247,000 for grant funds for curb ramps along Grandview Ave. There'll be no work at this time. We still have to get the grant agreement in place, and then we'll start design, and then it'll go out to construction for that. I know that we had submitted with that grant application a waiver for the match requirement. I don't know at this time yet if that's been approved. We'll find out when we get the grant paperwork for that. So I'll keep you all updated as we move forward with that one. The traffic study on South Pennsylvania Ave, as Helen mentioned, that began Friday, March 14th. I gave the wrong date there for a Friday. That started, last week, and we had just put up their detectors, equipment for our company. We collect data from that, such as traffic counts, speed studies, and then there's one other aspect of that collects through that. So it's, again, just testing to see what we can do as far as traffic calming along South Pennsylvania Ave to help with the speeding. I know the truck traffic has slowed down with the new ban in the ordinance, which is why we had waited so long until now, because you had approved this back, I think, in October 2024. We were waiting for that truck study or that truck ban to take effect and settle out. So we're doing that now. We should have results again, like in 2-3 weeks. We're doing the field study, and then it'll take us another 2-3 weeks. So possibly by May, I'd say we'd in front of you guys with some options, recommendations for that stuff. And then as I'm moving down through, so then tonight also on your agenda is for authorization of us to apply for an ARLI grant through PennDOT, and that's an automated red light enforcement grant. And this is, again, to upgrade traffic signals within the borough. We're looking for funding to close some gaps for the North Pennsylvania and Trenton Avenue signals, which we already have a PennDOT MTF grant for, 2 of those 4. So we're just looking for more additional funds to close that gap. And then we're also going to look at now applying for Philadelphia and South Pennsylvania Ave traffic signal, which Public Works has noted as being one of the most outdated signals. Some of the bigger items on your agenda tonight for motions are for the 2025 road program. So that was put
So
out.
sorry, Jacob, excuse me. If someone has their phone on, could you? Oh, okay. Thank you. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't see movement because you're behind somebody for me, but I was like,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So back to the road program. Yes, you have an award recommendation from our office tonight for to James D. Morrissey Inc. for $1,396,333.40, and that would be for paving a total of 39 roads, about 7.5 miles of roads in the borough. And this is what we're considering phase 1 or A, which is wards 1 and 2, and that's everything south of Palmer Street, including parts of Palmer. And then there were the way that your award was. There's base bid and there's alternate bid. Base bid was 33 roads, and then we had 6 alternates we're recommending to award. The alternates that are not recommended to award are PICO roads that they are doing work on, and we remove from the scope so we don't conflict with them. If that's approved, construction will likely start in May, June, late May, June. We will have a pre-construction meeting with the contractor to find out all schedules and details and work with them to coordinate which roads, and we'll start first. All roads will be posted with signage before any work starts, and they will put signs out on the street. I know it'll require some people to not park on the streets and whatnot, but we ask just work with us because you have a brand new paved road at the end of it. There's going to be a full list on the borough website along with a map after, should the project be awarded tonight. Second project on your agenda there for consideration for approval is the Manor Park playground improvements. So you have 2 items related to that on your agenda. The first one is being the site work bid. So we had to bid out the project with site work and installation of the playground equipment as one contract, and then we're purchasing the equipment itself through CoStars for a second contractor. So the first project to award, or the first item to award is for the site work and everything, and that was bid out. We received 2 bids, Premier Builders Inc. being the lowest bid for $201,598. And then the playground equipment purchase itself, again, that will be through CoStars, and we're recommending to go with the supplier General Recreation Inc., and they would be providing Landscape Structures Inc. equipment for a total of $147,720. Those are the items there on your agenda. I guess I can pause if there's any questions on those specifically right now.
Nothing?
Okay.
Jacob, question on automated red light enforcement.
Yes.
Is that going to be like a red light camera?
No. So we're just, it's just the name of the grant. Yeah. So they're just looking for safety features to upgrade its traffic signals to. They are now focused more on that in this later stage of the grant. As it was earlier, it was to apply and upgrade the whole entire signal. So we're going to have to work through that and look for, see if we can apply for everything here, but that's our goal for those. Yeah, no enforcement.
Great, thanks.
Oh, and just for council to also know, we're trying to get the Bridge Commission because some of these traffic signals are part of their ramps. If we didn't have those bridges, we wouldn't have the traffic signals. So we're trying to work with them. It has been difficult for us. They're not interested, but we're still trying in order for them to help us alleviate some of the costs with the traffic signals.
Yeah. And every one of these signals right now that's been in front of you I talked about are not related to those toll bridge bridges, so everything would be borough responsibility. Okay, some of the other projects I just want to touch base. Patriots Park, I know last month I was here to get authorization to submit some paperwork for that. We submitted all that on March 7th, and currently now we're just waiting for the Office of the Budget to assign us a consultant who will then process our grant application and move us on to the next step before we get out to design and construction for that project. Again, it was partially designed through grant funding before. As you saw in the back of the room, there's a giant concept plan for that. We are looking at just scoping and doing phases of that with the available $500,000 right now.
Excuse me, can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
So we've got $500,000 grant so far, and then we've got the matching that we're using our property, which is $1 million. But I thought I read that the project's going to be $1.7 million.
That was the total scope of the work for that concept plan back there.
So are we going to scale it down?
So yeah, we're going to try to phase it right now. We're looking at right now the scope of work for that being the parking lot area and expanding that and reconfiguring it, adding some parking lot lighting for that, and then doing some of the existing pathways that are in that park right now, just to get it more.
That'll be $1 million.
No, $500,000.
500,000.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then the 0.7 or 700,000, we'll try to get another grant or find.
We'll continue to look for grants for that.
And that would affect like the whole other parcel or part of the
Correct.
of the 3.1 acres.
Kind of grouped it off in phase. There's the one parcel of the property is the parking lot. We're looking at that right now, and then the one whole other side of the park that's all open space. Looking at that for the grading and whatnot for the event space areas, I should say.
And so the engineering reports that I'm seeing that you're doing now, what is that for? Because I saw in your billing that we've been.
So what the work we've done right now is for the paperwork for the RACP grant. It requires a pretty in-depth level of detail of paperwork we have to provide, lots of questions and answers in there, and documents we have to
Of course, I know it isn't free.
Yeah, so that's all we've been doing right now on that project.
Okay, thank you. That answers some questions I had.
As directed, yes.
And the public had too. Thank you.
So, just so the public also knows, you can't do anything anymore without an engineer, without engineers and lawyers. You know, like people might be thinking like, oh, we don't need to spend on engineers. Why are we doing this? But everything with the lawsuits and the liability to the borough, you need to have an engineer look at plans, make sure that the plans are working, and make sure that the projects are implemented properly.
Yep, fun stuff for me.
I know.
You say that with a smile on your face, though.
One of the other, I'll touch base for you here, Melissa, is the levy accreditation project. So we had last month readopted that emergency action plan, and so far we've just had to submit everything to DEP for their review again. Once we get their approval on that, we can then submit to FEMA, who will then review all of our documentation again, and hopefully at that time give us the intermediate accreditation to get the levy accredited itself, which will pull some of that area behind Williamson Park in the levy out of the floodplain. But as I had mentioned before, there's still the two projects, which one was announced last month. We got funding for that, design of that, for the canal waste gate to relocate that. And we're still actively working on that backflow preventer. We met with the contractor last week to get them pricing from them to do the installation of this device, which would remove part of the Williamson Park from the floodplain for that too.
And that's required for a resubmittal, or the submission has taken place and is not requiring that part?
No, so those two construction projects are almost separate now. We're working as accreditation on one side and then working for the construction projects on another side to keep those moving too. The borough does have grant funds for both those projects. We're just trying to get them moving simultaneously. So
okay.
Working my best.
Thank you.
Touch base on the Pennsylvania traffic calming. As I believe you all get my engineer's report. If there's any questions that come up, feel free to ask me when I'm up here giving these presentations. So if there's anything on there that you have questions, feel free to ask. If I didn't touch on a specific project, yeah.
And when is the road program starting? If we award it tonight?
If you award it tonight, anticipate it. I'm still waiting for May, June start time for that.
Okay, and then it's the first and second awards to start this year and the third and fourth next year.
Correct. And then
Okay.
following year after that, we have some roads that we had to remove from the list for related to PICO work, some MMA work, the authority work. So we're going to do those as cleanup roads, like a third phase for cleanup of anything we didn't get so far.
Great.
So.
Anyone have questions for Jacob? Okay, thank you, Jacob. Borough manager report.
Assuming council awards the bid for the road paving program, Virginia will be notifying our bond company tomorrow that council's awarded the bid for the road paving program, and we should have at your meeting next month the bond ordinance and the paperwork to borrow the funds to pay the road program. And as Helen has mentioned, we intend to pay for the bond issue out of the state liquid fuels funds. So yes, thank you.
It's a tough crowd. Nobody's happy.
First, one thing, this is a following statement from the Morrisville Borough Council. This is also a media release, and it's in response to the March 12th, 2025 article entitled "Suspended Officer Forced to Serve Suspension Despite Pending Appeal and Reporting by Jeff Bowen." While council does not comment on personnel matters, council categorically denies the false claim in the article that councilors Halaho and/or Robinson have interfered with police-related business or circumvented the role of the mayor. To the contrary, council has and always will follow the law and procedure with respect to the management and supervision of the police department. Now, after that, there's been some talk. That was the only item I have for that. Next item, there's been some talk over the last couple of weeks, just some confusion and talk about council committees, resident committees, and boards, authorities, and commissions. It seems like there's some confusion. So just a little primer, remember, we have our boards, we have our authority, we have our commissions. Those are statutorily defined, ordinance defined. They're separate bodies with a specific purpose. They're appointed by council. They undertake those purposes. A council committee, on the other hand, is a committee set up by our council president, as long as the time I've been here, of 3 to 4 members, where they focus on a specific object. One of them being the finance committee, where they focus on the budgeting items, things like that. That's what that is for, and that's really an actual committee of council where it follows the same rules as council as a whole with regard to the sunshine law, meetings, minutes, advertisement, things like that. And the last one is something that's been recently started since my time here, is the idea of these resident committees. My understanding is, when starting these, the idea of these is for, a council member to have an informal interface dialogue with members of council, members of the public who have a specific area of concern they prefer, they want to get more and more dialogue with council members. And this is a way to facilitate that dialogue. They don't have to come here, talk for their 3 minutes, but they can have a more informal, full-on discussion of very specific items they want to need. And while those are a way for council to work, with the public and interface, it isn't really a body of the council in the same way the council committees are. They're informal. They're not an actual committee of council in the sense that they are, follow the same laws as we do. They're not a government body. So.
Thank you, Scott.
And that would be all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions? Okay, great. Okay, police chief report. How are you, chief? I'm good.
Hello, everyone. So just to give a little bit of a training update from last month, Marie, you had asked about domestic violence training. It's like non-existent here in Pennsylvania. However, one of our officers is signed up for a reporting suspected abuse. So we're still continuing to look for that sort of training that focuses on domestic violence response and the like, but I just wanted to give you that update. We've received a couple of traffic complaints that have gotten to me via Facebook. I would like to ask the public to please, if there's a complaint of traffic or anything for that matter, call us directly. We don't monitor Facebook. They seem to kind of filter in, but a lot of times it's after the fact and we cannot give a prompt response, especially when we're reading about something the next day. So one of the areas I think was around the high school, and I just wanted to update that I've issued a written order which directs officers to be in the area at school patrol in the morning, the same hours that our crossing guards are out. So we've done this over the last couple of days. Our officers are out there. They have our not the full lights going, but lights flashing, so people can see that we're in the area to, address any traffic complaints and or facilitate safe travel for our children. We've also secured a county grant for an aggressive driver detail, and we're going to focus primarily on Philadelphia Avenue. There's another area where we get a lot of complaints for traffic, so our officers started today, and they will continue through April 27th or until the money runs out in the grant, and we will focus, again, primarily on Philadelphia Avenue, but we've also had complaints over on Bridge Street and again up by the high school area. We are continuing with truck enforcement. I think we're up over around 260, Corporal? Around 260 summonses. And I think I saw George tonight. Okay. So we're continuing that. We're still out there every week. We canceled our detail for this week because of the monsoon we had on Monday, but we're going to continue with that. It's also part of our daily activities. I just talked to Jacob. We mentioned something about construction coming on South Pennsylvania Avenue. I got a visitor earlier in the week from a Sean Moore. He's with Utility Line Service, which I guess is the company that's been contracted by PICO to do the work out there. So a little outside of my scope, talking construction, but I know it's going to affect the traffic patterns for a while they're out there. He said it's a job that's going to last a couple of months. But George, I did ask him if we can get us a couple of lighted message boards. And he told me on Friday that he can, without a doubt, get 2 of them. So I think we need to discuss where they're going to be, but I think with the traffic pattern, that's going to be down to 1 lane, seems like from Post Road all the way up to Route 1. I think probably somewhere in the area, which I'll have to talk with Falls Township, but getting one out on South Pennsylvania before Tyburn Road. So it's really big, really colorful, and the trucks know to use Tyburn Road. And then maybe on after the toll, after the bridge, so trucks do not get off of Route 1 onto South Pennsylvania, and they continue straight to 13.
Just for your knowledge, also Philadelphia Avenue. So the South Pennsylvania is going to continue now through September, and West Philadelphia Avenue is also going to have construction simultaneously sometime now for 2 months.
So all the more reason to keep those trucks on Route 1 off of South Pennsylvania.
Or South Pennsylvania and West Philadelphia.
Yeah. So I should hear from him tomorrow. He needed to know what exactly he wanted on those signs. I was waiting to hear how many characters we can put on them, and we'll figure that out. And they're coming from Morristown, New Jersey, so they should be out there shortly. Just an update on the fobs. Our fobs are working. However, they still are working out a couple of bugs programming. We ran into another issue this week, and when I thought the job was complete, I reached out to John later to reach out to the company. We've been in contact with them and to tell them that it is absolutely not complete yet. I've been talking with the owner himself, and they had another technician come here on Friday. We were here till about 5:30. He couldn't figure it out. They're talking to the parent company as of today, and they haven't. It's a programming issue, but they're working on it. So I'll let council know when that job is complete and we can move away from that company. And just wanted to let everybody know that our new body cameras are in circulation. We've been using them. They are a great addition compared to what we used to have. The batteries last the entire shift. The officers are, it's been a seamless transition. It integrates with our tasers, and we also already had the software because of the tasers. So it's going to make our lives much easier to not only capture this valuable video, but also share it with the DA's office when we need to, and maintain that system. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you. Any questions?
So just also for the public, Chief, just explain to them how the officers used to have like 50,000 keys to get from door to door to door, and that's why we have the fob system now.
So I think it was about 50,010, but yeah, we have a lot of keys. And now it's definitely an enhancement because rather than having multiple keys, we have one electronic fob that's on our key ring, and it's not only convenient, but it's safer for our officers not to have to juggle keys when we're trying to juggle prisoners and other things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to the consent agenda. We have one adjustment to 10C. That should say first, not second Tuesday. So as I read through this. The consent agenda: approval of council meeting minutes from 2/18/25, approval of the bill list from 2/1 to 2/28/25 in an amount of $236,826.43. Approve the first Tuesday of every August each year as National Night Out with a rain date of the following Tuesday. Approval of disposal of obsolete equipment with a $0 value on the request of the Chief Ciampa to include 6 security cameras, 3 keyboards, 1 mouse, 1 set of speakers, 1 TV remote, and 1 monitor. Accept the resignation of librarian Diane Hughes from the Morrisville Free Library. Authorize the borough to participate in the Bucks County Health Department annual West Nile virus program. Authorize Gilmore and Associates Inc. to submit a scoping form and grant application through PennDOT Automated Rate Light Enforcement, ARLE, program for improvements to the traffic signals located at the intersections of Philadelphia and South Pennsylvania Avenues and North Pennsylvania and Trenton Avenues. Approve the updated fee schedule. Melissa, would you make the motion?
Moved.
Catherine, would you second? First and a second. Any discussion with council?
Wanted to clarify for the public, this fee schedule. This is for all the fees in the borough through Barry ISET or everything, or?
Barry ISET went through, and I asked them, I said, our fee schedule is very complicated. There were things that I couldn't figure out on it. So I asked them to simplify it. So they went through and they simplified the fee schedule for us. They also made some changes. They changed some fees, lowering them for the residents. So as we've mentioned in the past, we don't have fees for getting a new roof. We don't have fees for getting siding or doing windows. So there are lots of things in there that we've kind of simplified and taken the cost away from the residents.
Just want to hop in and just thank Diane for her many years of service at the Morrisville Free Library. She'll be missed, and we look to do something for her in a bigger setting when she feels better. So thank you.
I have a question. Who's replacing her?
We don't know yet.
Okay.
Any public comment on these items? No public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Action items. We're going to ask for public comment. Is there any public comment on action items 11A through 11M? Okay, so we'll go through them one by one. Call for a motion to approve amendment to the Borough Code 435-15, trucks prohibited on certain streets to include Wright, Baker, and Coleman Avenues. This has been an ongoing, as our engineer has done traffic studies. We've been adding more roads to it. So this is in addition to what we did on West Post Road and Ohio Avenue and a couple other streets back there where trucks have been going through. So now we have the amendment to the code, and they will follow the same $1,000 fee that if you're caught on South Pennsylvania Avenue. Marie, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Luke, would you second?
Second.
First and a second, council discussion. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to approve amendment to Borough Code 435-15 prohibiting municipal waste trucks on borough streets unless licensed by the borough and/or borough businesses. Andrew, would you make the motion? Melissa, would you second?
Second.
First and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to award the 2025 Morrisville Borough Road Program to James D. Morrissey, Inc. for a total of $1,396,334.40 for all roads included in the base bid plus alternative bid items 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, and 13. This project will result in approximately 7.5 miles of road to be resurfaced within wards 1 and 2 of the borough. A comprehensive list and map of all roads being resurfaced will be available on the Morrisville Borough website. Dennis, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Melissa, would you second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to approve ordinance amendment for Chapter 400, Article 1, rental license permit. Scott, would you make the motion? Luke, would you second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion?
Yes. I had some questions about the letter that went out as well as the ordinance. And so I would like, I know it's been motioned in the second, but I would love to table this for a minute. I've got some concerns regarding some of the wording and some clarification regarding just what will be inspected, what's expected in an inspection. And so I'd like for us to spend a little more time on this.
You making a motion to table?
That's my motion. I certainly won't be.
I'll second it.
Motion to table. Virginia, roll call.
What's
Yeah.
This is, you're voting on the motion to table.
to table?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Yes.
Yes. No.
No.
With a 4-4 tie, the mayor will cast the deciding vote as to whether we table.
Sorry, Gary.
Oh, the first tabling.
Yeah.
Second.
Oh my.
Well, this year first.
But since we are split, I am going to vote to table it so we can have a broader discussion.
May I ask a question? Are we still in discussion?
There's a motion to table. There was a motion to table. It passed. That means we're moving on to the next item.
Scott, you can wait to talk during a council meeting. I mean, the council members' discussion at the end. Call for motion to approve sale of 6 Winchester Super X pump shotguns for a trade-in value of $600 to be used toward purchasing lights for patrol rifles per Chief Ciampa. Melissa, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Dennis, would you second?
Second.
First and a second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for a motion to approve Mayor Wallace to attend the 54th Annual Pennsylvania State Mayors Association Conference, July 17th to 20th in Harrisburg. The costs, including hotel and mileage, should not exceed $800 from his allowance of $1,000. Dennis, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Luke, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to advertise the amendment to the responsible contractor ordinance. Catherine, would you make the motion?
I so move.
Dennis, second.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to hire part-time officer Roland C. Rogers upon the recommendation of Chief Ciampa. Luke, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Marie, second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to ratify the mayor's letter to the Civil Service Commission dated February 28, 2025 regarding the eligibility list. Melissa, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Marie, second.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Accept the resignation of Officer Matt Leonhauser from the Police Department. Luke, would you make the motion?
So moved.
Dennis, second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to consider and approve the Civil Service Commission conducting its own testing to develop and certify the eligibility list expeditiously contingent on labor lawyer Chris Gerber's approving the testing guidelines and standards. Catherine, would you make the motion?
I so move.
Marie, second.
Second.
All in, any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to award the Manor Park Playground Site Improvement Project to Premier Builders, Inc. for $201,598. The scope of work for this project includes site preparation and the installation of the playground equipment. This project is funded by a Bucks County Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $300,000. Scott, would you make the motion? Scott? Andrew, would you second? Motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Call for motion to approve the purchase of the playground equipment for the Manor Park Playground Improvement Project from the General Recreation, Inc. for $147,720 through CoStars. This purchase is funded by Bucks County Community Development Grant in the amount of $300,000. Dennis, would you make the motion?
So moved?
Luke, second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes 8-0. Great. Okay, public comment for non-agenda items. Ralph Perzico.
Good evening. I'm a resident on North Pennsylvania Avenue, and we've been there since 2004, and our curbs have not improved. In fact, the water meter, which has been painted blue recently, sticks up about this much, okay? And they tried, nobody's run over it yet and destroyed it, because I got a brand new water line a few years ago. That would make me very unhappy. Plus, I would like to replace my sidewalk, but I don't know where the level is going to be because I don't have curbs. So basically, that's my problem. And I really need this done because otherwise I can't go home to my wife.
Was that you?
The whole North Pennsylvania, it looks really, really bad. And North Pennsylvania is one of the main streets in the borough, and it's gotta look nice. And that's my complaint. I put them up to this.
I mean,
Believe it or not. And I mean,
Well, curbs that work. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Have
He
a great
did
day.
it, so can he come home now? He did it.
We will address this next month after we have internal conversations. You're welcome. I agree with you. I think all the sidewalks on North Pennsylvania Avenue need to be fixed. So,
And if he doesn't let you back in, you can just walk across the street.
yeah, Dennis lives right across the street from you. Oh, okay.
But, you know, it's something that we want to take care of. That's it.
Understood, understood.
Grant, you need help, here I am.
Oh, well, we'll be talking to you about other things then. I'll be knocking on your door. Exactly, right? George Helmstetter.
Hi, George Homesteader, 800 South Pennsylvania Avenue. I did come up here to talk about the trucks and speeding. Thank you, Chief, for a lot of improvements that have been made. I wanted to report that I talked to State Representative Jim Kopiak, and I guess he talks to the chief as well, but he did let me know that they're filing for a grant to try to get a new way station or a portable one to pull over there to help with that. I did push him to investigate the radar bill, which is stuck in the House. He said that he has a friend that sponsors it, and he was going to get back to me on the status of that. So there is a problem with speeding. I can see the radar sign from my house, and usually on the weekends they're driving anywhere from 40 to 50, 52 miles per hour. So it is a problem. The trucks have improved. On the weekends, I don't know what happened out there. Maybe they closed, but probably the most I've seen on a weekend is 5 trucks. Typically, some mornings I'm in the mood when the trucks are going by from like 6 to 8 a.m. I count them until I leave for work. And they used to be about 30 in that time period. They've gone down to like 20, although today was quite active. We had a water leak in February, right on my cross street there of East Cleveland. I'm sure it was leaking from the vibration of the road, and they came out and dug it up and fixed the leak. And of course, those spots now have divots. So my question is, like, since that's a state roadway, who's going to fix, and once they do the PICO work and all that, are they going to fix the entire road or just patches of where that goes? Because, of course, we won't have trucks on the road by then, but those divots are making more noise than ever. And there's our favorite friends from FedEx. They like to plow through there late at night, anywhere from 10 to 1 p.m. So I've let the chief know about that. I just wanted to also warn that the Delaware River side warehouse back there is getting close to finish. And they're going to bring more trucks in, and I'm sure they're not want to go all the way around. They'd rather just cut through because it's just past Post Road out there. And I think it's a 1 million square feet warehouse, something like that. I have a picture of it somewhere. That was my points I wanted to bring up.
Thank you, George.
Thanks.
Don Rice.
Don Rice, Morrisville. Last month during public comment on an indemnification.
Can you give your street address?
No,
You have to give your street address.
no, you don't. I have to tell you that I'm a resident, and I am a resident
Okay.
of Morrisville.
Go ahead.
Last month during public comment on an indemnification agreement, I asked a simple question. who is Cloverleaf Morrisville LLC? The response from council, as usual, was a blank stare. Your response to almost all public comment questions is a blank stare. Now you will hear my response to your disdain of the questions asked by citizens who care enough to come to your meetings. Shame on all of you. You represent the citizens of Morrisville, but do not care enough to answer their questions. I do not care why you choose silence. It is indefensible. The Pennsylvania Office of Open Records and their facts for the Sunshine Law state, quote, although members of the agency are not required to provide an answer, it is good practice to do so whenever possible. Answering questions can demonstrate a commitment to helping constituents, and in many cases, answering questions informally at a public meeting can reduce future requests under the right to know law, which saves time and money for both the agency and the commenter/requester, end quote. Obviously, council does not have a commitment to helping constituents. Therefore, we're going to try an approach to inform citizens of the questions you won't answer, and if possible, crowdsource answers. We will, after a council meeting, list the public's unanswered questions. Also listed will be any written requests to council, including right-to-know requests that have no response. Sometimes council's unresponsiveness is just disrespectful, but sometimes it appears you are trying to hide something. That is how conspiracy theories thrive. Truthful information can stop these theories and show respect to your constituents. Now back to the beginning. Cloverleaf Morrisville LLC was incorporated on January 4th, 2019. Their address is identical to the address of MNOP, that is their real address and real name, Incorporated. MNOP Incorporated has previously worked with the RDA in Bristol Township to develop a remediated property. That's all I have to say on that subject. Since I have a little bit more time, I heard kudos from Mr. Dillon for what grants are there, for the grants for the various parks. But what grants are there for Williamson Park? I have stood here while I was told that continuing the certified redevelopment area, with the blight report that you all approved, you were keeping it because it would help with getting grants for the park. If there is any grants, any grant applications for the park, you haven't said so. It's another case of, what is going on? Am I out?
You are.
Okay, then I will stop there.
Thank you, Don. Annie Milionis?
Hi, Annie Milionis, 142 West Hendrickson Avenue. I'm here as the Birdtown PA coordinator for Morrisville. Could I approach the bench and hand a paper to you, please?
Sure.
This past Thursday, the Birdtown PA statewide group had a Zoom meeting at which time a member of the Pennsylvania Game Commission, Stefan Karkov, who is a Game Commission biologist, talked to us about a new program that the Game Commission has of providing both chimney swift towers and purple martin houses to appropriate Birdtown locales. They are free of charge. They are valued at approximately a couple $1,000s a piece, along with educational signing. I immediately, as of Thursday night, emailed him, called him the next day, and he just so happened to be coming to King of Prussia from the Harrisburg area today. So I was able to get a couple members of the EAC to meet with me. I invited the Lower Makefield Birdtown because part of the location alongside the canal in their section is prime prothonotary warbler habitat. So And that's how bird towns work. We work in a clutch and we work together with neighboring bird towns. So he came here, we met, we went around to look at several sites, and he determined that we would qualify for both a Purple Martin house and for a chimney swift tower. Both of those bird species are critically threatened birds. They are insect eaters, and he identified one location for the Purple Martin house to be, I don't know, the best way to describe this, at the base of the levee, at the end, the lower end of the parking lot coming south from the water tower on the levee side. But there's a yellow house there is the first house as you're heading south on Delmore on the levee side. So back in that corner, that is borough property, but it's a grassy area and it's part of the area that is parking lot. That would be prime for Purple Martin house. Again, educational signage comes with it, and it is graffiti proof. It meets all the standards. It's a 24 by 36 inch sign that would go with it, and it's colorful, educational. So that would be an ideal place for Purple Martins. Purple Martins historically were in this borough, and because the Delaware River is part of the Atlantic Flyway, that is a perfect location for something like this to attract those birds back to our borough. The other place that he suggested was Patriots Park for the chimney swift tower, because Somerset.
Sorry. I've been telling that your timer is up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So I'd like to speak to you further about this, and I'll send it in a letter so that we could discuss it possibly at next meeting.
Could you just email us?
Sure.
Okay, great. That way we all have the information.
Okay. I typically do it by letter, and did you get my last letter?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's easier in an email. If you could. If you want to do it by letter, go ahead.
Unfortunately, my email sometimes kicks back from some of you. That's why I've done it as a letter.
Okay, that's fine. All right, thank you, Annie. Holly Harmon.
Good evening, Holly Harmon, Plaza Boulevard. Just two things. I want to thank you very much for responding to the outright fabricated story that Lower Bucks Sports published about you guys. Intimately involved with this, and I know for a fact that it was made up out of spite. So, but thank you for addressing it. Secondly, I know it got tabled, but I did want to pass on to you that I came home last night to a letter taped to my door about the rental agreement, which technically is trespassing because there are clear no soliciting signs. So whoever's responsible for this, I'm getting the apartment complex to find out on video who did this. I appreciate that you guys are finally implementing this after a lot of years. I've been into quite a few of these houses, and quite honestly, I don't know how any human can live in some of these. I had a friend that lived in one for several years before moving out. Water in the basement any given day, cabinets falling apart, counters rotting, mushy flooring around the toilet, and nothing was ever done about it until she moved. I was in another one where there were clear mold and water stains in the ceiling that had never been addressed or fixed, as well as and mold just growing up the wall. So I think it's a good thing. If you live in a apartment complex, they come in once a year to inspect your fire, test your fire detectors, and they come in once a year to check out your fire extinguisher. So the whole Fourth Amendment thing goes right out the window with that, because it is a safety thing, and I really think that privately held properties should be subject to the same standards that the big commercial, legit landlords observe. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Gary Taylor.
Good evening, Gary Taylor. live at 405 Hamilton Boulevard here in Morrisville. Been here for 36 years. I'm guessing that, Madam President, I'm probably one of the disgruntled landlords you mentioned in your opening comments. Landlords are assets and partners with our community. We provide housing for those who can't afford it or don't qualify for a loan to obtain their own. Without us, Morrisville would become like a tent city like San Francisco, or have the homeless living under our bridges. I'm told almost half of our valuable residents here are given housing by businessmen like myself who provide quality housing at a fair price. It's time for you to look at us as allies and assets to the community rather than adversaries to be controlled or over-regulated. This hampers our ability to provide needed housing for our community and the people we serve better than they are treated as second-class citizens. They should not be oppressed with searches of their private residences, which is not demanded of others who happen to be able to afford their own homes. This ordinance, 1019, also, intended or not, winds up being a money grab for the code enforcement since they get all the extra business for their company. If there are just 2,000 non-owner resident properties in Morrisville, there's probably a lot more. This would be an immediate windfall business for the Borough Codes Enforcement Company of an extra $200,000 per year. And if you look at the letter the borough sent out, it was written and signed by a representative of that very company who has a monopoly on the inspections to do this task. Doesn't seem right. I am a upholder of the Fourth Amendment, 26 years in the military. Thank you. And I do feel very strongly about this Fourth Amendment. Not all agree with me, but it reads, the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall be issued but upon probable cause. This is being litigated in the town of Pottstown, Pennsylvania right now, and so consequently I think we need to take a closer look at this. We and some of the landlords did meet this last week. We moved that the Borough Council extend the deadline for this action for at least 90 days until June 30th. In order to give the council, landlords, and non-owner residents some time to work out a more consistent and equitable solution. This would have to be made before March 31st because on March 31st, you want to start fining people for not getting inspections. So I would request a 90-day moratorium on that until we can work with us. I was disappointed that we were not included in the discussion because I think we could have brought something to the table for you. I'd like to hand out a list that I sent to you before, but this list is all the concerns, inconsistencies, and problems.
Time is up.
Excuse me?
Your time is up.
Yes. I'm going to hand this out to you. All the inconsistencies and problems in 1019. On the back is a possible solution to this problem.
Gary
that the
Matthews.
landlords talked about.
Gary Matthews.
Good evening. My name is Gary Matthews. I'm a residential landlord in Morrisville. I own properties in the borough. I've had these for a lot of years. Most of my tenants are young people, they're minorities, or they're people on a fixed Social Security income. My main concern about this new yearly inspection program, the licensing inspection, is the cost. The landlords are going to pass this cost on to these tenants, okay? And they're not only the cost of this, but the time for the landlord has to take to schedule all this stuff and keep it going. In order to rent a one-bedroom entry-level apartment in Morrisville or any other place, a tenant needs to make $30 an hour or $60,000 a year to qualify. Most of the people, I would say 90 to 95% of the people that fill out an application for me don't make that, okay? I feel sorry for these tenants, these young people. Since COVID, wages have not kept up with inflation. I just feel as though this is sort of bad timing to kick this in and to have this every year. I wouldn't mind having, we have inspection process now that seems to work. I don't mind if they had this thing every, say, 5 years. I've had some long-term tenants. I know my places will pass. I've been in the building business for a year. I know the codes and I know how I keep my places. So I don't have a problem with that. But every year I find it excessive. And it's my thing's the affordability for my tenants. Because I can't keep pushing things off. Morrisville, like this last past year, Morrisville Borough had probably a 7% plus increase in the water and sewer bills. Pico put a 10% increase. My insurances went up 30%. My insurance on a property. This is a lot to pass on to these people when their wages aren't keeping up with inflation. And this is just something else to add to knock these little people down. I feel sorry for them. If I have tenants that have a problem, they call me, and you can talk to any of my tenants, and they know that I take care of what I have to do to keep the place safe or give them whatever they want. If I keep a tenant happy, they're happy with me, I'm happy with them. It's a relationship. I just think this is bad timing to put this out. And, you know, and the other thing is, most of my tenants that I've talked to about this do not want people coming into their apartment. It's like an invasion of privacy.
Your time is up. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you
so
very much for your
I
comments.
appreciate the opportunity to listen to me. Wish I could say more.
Robin Zabel, Sable, Zabel, Robin. Going once, going twice.
Gary, is that your phone? Your phone.
No Robin Zabel. Okay. Fernando Rodriguez.
Hello, I'm Fernando Rodriguez. I live in East Cleveland Avenue, 76 East Cleveland Avenue. Also a landlord. I have 2 units over there on Cleveland Avenue, which I don't mind to anyone to go and inspect their units. Basically, at the beginning of the tenancy, which is the way that you guys have it set up right now. But I don't think so that it is, it's actually good for us or for the tenants to have somebody every single year going back and forth just to check on something that was just checked, a year ago. I understand you guys should actually make sure that the property is, is in good order. But that's why the first, inspection is done. Like, I don't have somebody that's moving in and out every single year. I got people that stay there for a couple of years. And every single time that they move out, I literally restore the apartments again. I make sure that everything is in order. And I just feel that there is a lot of misinformation on this. The letter that we received, it was not cleared up. I went to the board already to ask what was going on with this, and there was nobody to explain to me what was going on with this either. I feel like, you guys are pushing this without even giving us the opportunity to understand what really is going on. That's all my concern that I have for you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Beth Porter.
Good evening. I currently reside on Washington Avenue in Morrisville. My apartment is a nice place and was inspected before I moved in. I do not want anyone coming into my personal space. Right now, I currently work 2 jobs, and the pay is not keeping up with inflation. My landlord told me that my rent is going to go up because of these inspection fees. Okay? If landlords are forced to do this, I will need to take time off from work to be there. And I'm not getting paid for when I'm taking time off for some inspector to come into my place. I can't afford another increase. If the borough needs money that bad, inspect all the owner-occupied homes out there. Have you ever watched the news recently where in Mount Airy, there was a home that the first floor collapsed into the basement and they found a woman, an elderly woman, dead? But that probably wouldn't happen because the bottom line, if the council members did that to the people in this town, then you would not be reelected. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dan, on Delmore Avenue, I can't, Curo.
Name's Dan Caronia, 25 North Delmore Avenue. Own a few other properties also. I kind of agree. My tenants have discussed it with me, and that they said that they don't like the idea of somebody coming in and inspecting their properties, the property. I maintain all my properties. I'm also concerned with where's the money going, this inspection fee? Is it all going to the inspection company? Is the borough taking any of this money? The re-inspection fees, the fines that were thrown in there, they're saying that you give us 3 weeks to get this paperwork done. I just think it needs to be discussed a little bit more, talked about a little bit more, and I just did appreciate the speed at which this happened. I heard nothing about it other than getting letters. That's basically my main concern. I don't want to know where things are going, what's involved, where it's going, who hired the inspection company. That's my concern. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
John McCool.
My name is John McCool, like some of the people here. I'm the landlord in Morrisville Borough. Mayor, thank you for tabling this for now. I'm here for the inspection fee that you guys sent out a letter. I did originally email my questions, but it was a fictitious email. So I had to call up just to get the right email, just to submit my questions, which were never answered. I did receive an email saying they would get to them, but I still haven't gotten them. With this being tabled, does that mean the payment on the 31st is pushed back? Can anybody answer that?
So, we'll answer at the end of public comment. Oh, yeah.
You can answer now or whatever.
Go ahead.
So this ordinance was originally passed in 2017 and it's still in effect. There was a change that was proposed related to the process for it. That's what was tabled. So the ordinance that currently existed and was in existence since 2017 is still in effect. So everything other than this change will still be in place.
So you're expecting payment on the 31st?
That is correct.
So is it just for me as a landlord, or is it for each property?
So, I'm sorry, you said
Is it just for me and my business as a landlord, like $100, or is it $100 per property?
Per unit.
Per unit? Per unit? Like if I have a fourplex, it's $100 per unit?
Yes.
That's kind of crazy. Also, we already pay the inspection fees. We just renovated all of our properties. So we paid all the inspection fees plus chimney, heater certs. So that means we have to do all those again.
That would be a question for the code enforcer when you make the appointment. They will be able. There's a checklist that they have, and I think the borough has it available as well. So you could stop by the borough and get the checklist of what they'll be looking for.
I did call, and they gave me the correct email, and I submitted this 2 weeks ago, but haven't gotten a response.
Well, I don't work in the office, but there is a checklist. There's a checklist sitting downstairs that is available to everyone. So if you ask for the checklist of what the code is looking for, it should be provided to you.
Okay, so that's my question. So do I have to get all those certs again, or is it just a $100 fee to this company per unit?
I don't have that answer for you right now.
Right, but you sent out the letter demanding money for.
But I don't know. We don't do code enforcement. We don't do inspections, so the code enforcer would have those answers for you.
Right, and I called and I sent an email and I haven't had any response. So that's why I came to the meeting tonight, to the borough.
But I'm telling you to call code enforcement. They're the one, Barry I set to call them, and they'll be able to.
And they told me to email Jenna Biaggi.
I'm sorry, what was your name again?
John McCool.
So thank you for telling us today that you weren't able to get through the code enforcement. And now that we know that, we can let them know that there's at least one person who said that they weren't able to get the answers that they're looking for.
Right, I did email, and you can look on this letter to see that it's the wrong
right.
email.
So we'll let them know.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then where's the money go?
It's the cost of inspection.
For that company. But we already paid $75 for the borough to inspect.
So 50% is going to the borough, 50% is going to the code enforcer, but there's administrative costs involved in that. I'm sorry,
But that comes out of that.
your time is up.
Well, I think
I'll make sure somebody answers your email tomorrow.
All right, it's McCool. All right, thank you.
Eric Erickson?
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Eric.
I'm going to just buzz down my list here. I'll be quick. The first concern that I have as a landlord in town for 31 years is that the cost is a consideration on our part. For all the years that I've been doing properties in town, we paid $75. It actually used to be 60 and it, or 65 and a 10 reinspection. Now they do a 75 with no reinspection fee. And that's been fine. They do it when the person moves in and we don't have to do it again. Now they want $100 every year. They want $50 for a reinspection and they want it done yearly. I want to know, does that include another electrical heat and chimney cert? You don't have to answer that. Second thing is we have Section 8 housing, subsidized housing. Bucks County Housing comes in and does a very detailed inspection every year on our properties. So I'm going to pay another $100 to Barry Isett in Morrisville Borough to have that handled. I don't think that's fair on my part there when it's already been done by a county agency. The amount of time that I will spend and my tenants will spend to afford these inspections is roughly 40 hours a year for me. Any of you take 40 hours away from your life. How does that fit with you? Not good. You don't have to answer that. Historically, I don't believe anybody in this room can show me where somebody has been harmed because of a lack of an inspection. Maybe, but in 31 years, I haven't seen one case of it. Doesn't mean it hasn't happened. I haven't seen it. So I would argue that the current system that we've had up until now has worked pretty darn nice, and it's been cost effective. As a taxpayer and a business owner, as taxpayers and business owners, we would appreciate and believe it to be a benefit for us landlords to have a seat at the table to discuss the particulars relative to inspections and frequency thereof. We truly believe that yearly inspections are far more necessary to achieve the safety and well-being of our tenants, are far more than necessary to achieve the safety and well-being of our tenants. We are not looking to reinvent the wheel, just try to make it run a little bit smoother. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Eric. Craig McClister. Craig McClister.
I think you might have laughed.
Okay. Colin Roberts.
How you doing? Colin Roberts. I don't really have anything prepared today. I was just kind of piggybacking off of what others said. I'm a landlord in the area.
Could you state your address?
Oh, Delmore, 29 Delmore. Yeah, as a small time landlord, I would just like to be included in on these decisions. I felt like it was a little swift, and as John was saying, like I feel like there's too many things that aren't spelled out, and I think it's just a little unclear. So those are my main concerns.
Oh, thank you. Barbara Johnson.
Hello, I'm Barbara Johnson. I'm a resident. I got a couple of questions. Who's going to pay the extra $10 a month minimum, me or the landlord? Who do you think I should let come to my home to do an inspection? I'm asking y'all because I'm not letting anyone in my home without a court order by the judge. And who is getting this money every month for $10? the borough or my landlord. My rent, I pay it to my landlord. Rent is already high. I'm already paying $1,200 for rent a month for one bedroom apartment. I'm sure like everybody else is. Okay. But where am I going to sleep eventually? In my car and become homeless? If everybody want a piece of the pie, my paycheck? Seriously. No answers for me? Y'all don't have any answers for me at all? You're sitting here looking at me? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara. Anyone else with public comment? What is your name?
I just found out about this meeting at the last minute, so.
Your address,
I'm
please.
prepared.
What's your address?
I'm about to tell you.
Oh.
My address, 124 North Pennsylvania Avenue. I bought that house in 2000. I've had it as a rental since 2008, and we own 2 other rental properties in Morrisville. Just like everybody else, I got this letter, which with no real explanation or clarification. We actually are in the process of renting to another tenant, so it's not clear the UNO process, if this is going to supersede that or not. What happens with as we said, with other individuals, as far as the chimney cert, the heater cert, other inspections that are done. I do have one tenant who's Section 8, which is done every year, and I know just trying to coordinate that with her and the logistics of it has been problematic. Sometimes tenants may leave certain things which may make the property fail. How's that going to be addressed if there's things in there? What is the incentive structure for this company if they're being paid for this, and then they may want the reinspection fee? What's the potential that they may fail people for ticky-tacky things and then have to inconvenience the landlord as well as the tenant yet again? What about, we talked about the concern about whether or not the property was left in severe disrepair. There are provisions for that in the Pennsylvania Landlord-Tenant Act that deal with warranty of habitability. So the tenant does have recourse in there in the event that the property is not maintained correctly. So the concern that I would have is, A, when is these inspections being done? If you're going to have the entire borough have all these inspections, I know even when I've turned over a house, trying to get it scheduled and coordinate that sometimes can be a delay and significant issues. So what's going to happen when you have every property in the borough that's going to have to be inspected in a short window, especially when this is implemented, and you're going to be doing this on an annual basis? The disruption of the lives of the tenants, the landlords. I'm just a regular guy. I have a full-time job. We have 3 properties, which I have enough trouble trying to maintain. We take a lot of pride in making sure we do the right thing and keep it to an acceptable level for the individuals. And this just seems like an expense and a burden that's unnecessary without any impact. I got a letter that said, figure it out. It's not even clear what to do. I think that there may be an opportunity to compromise, as was suggested by many individuals. Maybe you do something every 3 years, or the tenant has a hotline if there's severe distress in the property where there can be an inspection done ad hoc in a situation like that. But I think this does need to be addressed. I'm not even sure what to do now, and the deadline's in a few weeks. It's very unclear, it's very opaque, and it really does need to be addressed.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't live in the borough, I manage the borough. Can I speak or no?
Sure.
So my name is Frank Yeka. I manage Canal House Apartments on Maple Avenue. And kind of piggybacking a lot of comments here, I do appreciate the fact that this thing was implemented in 2017, so some of you guys may not have been on the board and are aware of it. I managed a property in King of Prussia that 2017 Upper Marion Township instituted an inspection policy. They called landlords to the table. We went back and forth. They did what they did. I think they used Keystone was the company. They ended up getting rid of Keystone. They started off doing annual and went to 3 years. Now, excuse me. Now they do inspections just upon moving. So that's what they've gone to. I'm curious. I did not get a letter. I called Jenna. I actually got news of this through Barry Eis's guy inspecting a new movement for us. Said this is coming. I went back and checked the minutes, didn't find anything. Subsequently learned about the 2017 ordinance, but, not knowing, no letter come to me. I still haven't received it. I hear a lot of hearsay about money being owed. For me, that's $7,000 by the end of March.
This is residential rentals. This is not apartment complexes. Yeah, the letter has to do with residential.
See, I was not told that. So we're not included in that?
No.
See, Jenna didn't tell me that, so.
Yep.
Okay, that helps.
So you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. One happy customer. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hi, good night. My name is Geraldine Maya. I live currently on 648 Hillcrest Avenue. What is your name? Geraldine Maya. I have been a resident of Morrisville for 10 plus years, in the currently address for 2 years. First of all, there is so many people in here that have so many questions about how is all of this working, but none of you have the correct answers or the knowledge to answer those questions. So how can you pass something if you guys cannot answer the questions? So my suggestion will be next time that you have something like this, why you don't bring the code inspector in here for him to be here to answer the actual questions that you keep saying, referring to them, to email them, to call them, but they clearly are not answering the questions of everybody here. Second, you are saying every year, my landlord, which is a great landlord, Pastor Gary here, he did a really thoughtful inspection before we moved there. And I think that everybody that have a landlord that clearly, for everything that have here in here, everybody have tenants that have been in there for more than 2 years, which means that the landlord have to be doing something really good for the tenants to stay in the property. So you are trying to add more money to be paid for inspections when you have people in here that is working 2 jobs, that have no time to take out, to go in the house, to have an inspector in there for I don't know how long, for any time on the day, because you guys usually say they're gonna be here from this time to that time, and that is the whole day that you have to be waiting. That's a whole day of work that you're losing, is income that you're not receiving. As a single parent, because I know a lot of them, I'm not anymore, but I was a single parent for a long time in 2 jobs. How am I supposed to keep affording more things, paying things for my kids when childcare in here is really expensive? And then another expense that you are adding, that do not make sense. You are not taking into accountability the people that you have living in the town, which is hardworking people that have no time whatsoever to take out 1 day of work to lose that income just so you guys can have more money. That is everything that I have to say today.
Thank you very much. Okay. Mayor comments. I'm sorry, no, we're moving on. My mayor's comments.
Contradicts what you said. You picked up wrong information according to the ordinance. So you said.
Mayor's
You
comments.
could send it in, Gary, in an email.
Know that it does affect apartment buildings.
Please don't interrupt the proceedings.
Good evening, Morrisville. Hope everyone had a great weekend and enjoyed the St. Patrick's Day festivities. At last month's meeting, a resident shared concerns about a fallen tree in front of his home and wasn't sure where to turn for help. While tree removal is ultimately the responsibility of the homeowner, I'm proud to say that our community stepped up in a big way. A special thank you to Councilman Dennis for spending 2 days trying to find a service to remove the wood. When that didn't work out, I turned to our community. And as always, Morrisville showed up. A heartfelt thanks to everyone who offered assistance, and a special shout out to Brady from Rob's Towing, who stepped up to help. Not only was our neighbor able to have his property cleared, but Brady was also able to collect firewood to heat his home. A true win-win. This is what Morrisville is all about, neighbors helping neighbors. I also want to take a moment to address some misinformation that has been circulating. Recently, there was claims that council president and vice president emasculate me. Let me be clear, that is entirely false. As mayor, my primary responsibility is to oversee the operations of our police department. And that is exactly what I do, alongside our outstanding new police chief, Chief Sampa. Thank you. It is unfortunate that such a misleading narrative has been put out there, but we will not let distractions keep us from doing the work that matters. Since the day that I took office on November 23rd, 2023, I've remained committed to working with everyone, respecting differences and finding common grounds for the betterment of Morrisville. While we may not always agree on every issue, we continue to move forward together. Thank you, Council. I look forward to continuing this work alongside our council and our residents to build a stronger Morrisville. I hope to see everyone out on April 19th for our Easter egg hunt from 10 to 12, and then Cello's event, Earth Day event over in Colvin's Ferry alongside the riverfront over there. Thank you and enjoy your evening.
Thank you, Mayor. Council member comments? Scott, I know you had something.
Yeah, I do have a quick comment. I know that the rental ordinance is a fiery issue, and it's my support of this not because I think that all of our landlords are bad. But my concern is that there are houses down on Western Street and a couple of Washington Street that 100 years ago, maybe 150 years ago, they were single-family houses. And especially the one from West Ridge, when I was walking around, not for the election, or like take a walk or back up to the neighborhood, where our houses don't have 5 or 6 apartments carved out into what used to be a single-family house. And I don't know if there's any record of that. I don't know if, you know, I don't know if one of my friends, several of them, like one friend were firemen, have to go in and fire at that house, or residents living there. And they're going to kind of like, because I'm looking for somebody that they contact with pre-election, and I didn't even know where to start looking for them. And if someone would have called whether I live in apartment 4 or I live in apartment 8 on Westwood Street, my kids on fire, I don't know if the fire would be able to find it. I don't know. It's a deal out there. It's just hard. Forget it. So again, this is not, I know our landlords are responsible. I know they're taking care of the property. That's the guy who takes care of the property. But this is something, maybe if we do sit around, we have a discussion with the landlord, if we can come up with a way to make every single property, and I mean every single property, because there's one property, okay, that's been got up in 6 apartments, and one of my friends with the fire department died in a fire, he gets severely injured in a fire. That won't take, because this is something we can address right now. So that's where I'm coming from. With this ordinance. So I'm looking out. I don't want anyone to get hurt. That's all I have to say about it.
Thank you, Scott.
Madam President, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm glad that we decided to table, and I asked for that tonight because I think, like Scott said, and I was with you, Scott, to paint a picture. There was a house that we went to door knock once we found the door that had a set of wooden stairs that were not even connected to the house. They were just rickety. And this person has to walk up those stairs every day to get in and out of their house, let alone safety for first responders. I agree with what Scott said. I don't think 90% of our landlords are doing a bad job. That's not what this is about. I asked to table this because I feel as though there's some things that we could and should look at that include more of the conversation from the other side and more clarification. We're not going to make something that's 100% perfect and right, but we could come together and figure out as neighbors a good way to keep everyone safe. Like Scott said, the resident, the first responders, a neighbor who's coming to knock on your door, a child who went to the wrong house, what have you. We have to be safe. I don't know exactly how we get there. I think there's work yet to be done. I also think, while I have the mic, to say that some of the things I heard today, some folks should listen to some fair housing seminars. Some of the things that were said were downright disrespectful in regards to how you view your tenants, and that's scary to me. Aside from that, if you are passing on, this is just my opinion, and I'm going to state it as a resident, not the council person sitting up here. If you are passing on $8 a month to your tenant for keeping safety, that's a little scary too. Now, do I think it needs to be every year? I don't know. We'll see what we come up with if we get the chance to have the discussion. But this shouldn't be on the tenant to keep the property in good standing. It's our property. I'm a landlord too, not here in Morrisville, but I am a landlord too. It's on me, and it does cost me to keep my properties correct per the municipality. So I'm looking forward to the day that we get there. I asked for this to be tabled because I don't think we're there just yet.
Thank you. I have to say the reason that I couldn't answer your questions is because I didn't know them. I didn't know what to tell you. I'm not familiar with this. I did look at the ordinance that was in 2017, and I did find that the reason they tabled it and didn't follow through was the expense on the borough, because they had to hire somebody to maintain the records. The software was really expensive at that time, and it just ended up being too much of a burden. They couldn't afford it. So that was why it was never followed through, from what I understand. Some of you might know different that were around at that time. Jane, do you know?
I can.
Sorry.
I mean, it's.
I said my knee was good. There was an ordinance prior to that was more comprehensive that we backed off from. But in 17, the ordinance was in place, but it was the fee schedule for doing it that we couldn't come to agreement with in developing the software program with the code company that time was resistant. So the ordinance was in place, but we couldn't work out the fees. And that was what I know from following through, because I was not on council in 2017, and you made that clear.
Thank you, Jane. So that, I mean, and I think it is good. I would have tabled it too. So thank you for that opportunity, Melissa. The second thing I want to make a comment about is last meeting, I've been chairman of the Parks and Recreation Committee since I got on council in January 2022, and have had a meeting almost every month. And I turn in my agendas, I turn in my meetings minutes, and I have people attend. It's open to the public. And we discuss the various issues of events, park needs, whatever. And so I was taken off guard of why I couldn't give my report. And I still don't know if I can give my report.
My understanding is that it was no longer a council committee, but during your council comments, you can obviously provide your report.
Okay, well, when did it not be a council? Because I was appointed by council.
Each year, in my time here, each year, the president of council has set forth the committees and has appointed the 3 members to each council committee. And if that didn't happen this year, there is no committee.
But it did. I've been going since.
Who were the other council members that are on the committee?
So far, I haven't had any other ones, but because committees aren't pushed anymore. But it's been an active committee. So it's no longer a committee. Do we still meet here the fourth Tuesday of every month?
It was advertised as a resident committee. It's not a council committee, and it's not a council committee because there are not 3 council members on the committee. So if you don't have 3 council members, it can't be a council committee.
Okay.
So it's a residential committee. You can meet and continue doing what you want. It's just not a council committee.
Okay. One of the things that we did talk about at the last council or whatever residential park and recreation committee was talking about the need and the desire in town from many residents who've come and talked about a community garden. And people are concerned about a food shortage and, shortage of income to buy fresh fruit or vegetables. And so we had a pretty good audience, and we had a speaker who talked about what it would take for us to do a community garden. Now, we know that that's not going to happen in the near future, but it's something that we want to look at and try to find a location that would be suitable for us to have one. And so we're moving forward on that. And we're moving forward wanting some murals painted more at the baseball park. And so we're working with some artists, and then we'll look for funding for that to happen. So, and then we're looking at whether we were not going to do a jazz festival this year, but we still would do a music and truck festival and an Irish festival. So that will be presented to council in the coming weeks. So thank you.
Catherine, anybody else on council?
Can I real fast?
Of course.
I won't be, I'll be short. So I took my time voting for this, and I know I voted no, but I too I agree with Scott, I agree with Melissa. I'm glad we tabled this as well. I've taken a lot of notes. I think we do have a lot to talk about. We're not trying to penalize landlords. We're not trying to penalize tenants. It's the last thing we want. Again, it's about safety. I work in real estate. So real fast, Bristol Borough, Doylestown, Falls Township, Middletown Township, Warminster, Yardley Borough, they all have license requirements. And yes, I totally agree we should be open to discussion about fees, maybe how many properties are owned by a landlord, maybe divide that, I don't know. But again, we will all talk about it. Melissa, maybe, UNOs, if I don't know if we can coincide with that, but again, open for discussion, definitely changed my mind on it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you, Dennis. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think the important distinction to make is that this was done for public safety. It was not done to fee renters, never the intention. If your landlord bumps your rent up because of this, then that's a conversation you should have with them, right? This is us trying to keep you guys safe, and I'll look out for you and do the right thing.
And just to add to that, I know you, the people that came here, you all say your homes are fantastic and, you have no problems. But there's not a lot of you here, and if you think there's 9,000 people that live in Morrisville, and 40% of our homes are rental homes, imagine the people that don't come here to complain or don't have access to complain. If they complain, their renters throw them out. So it's not you who has a good one, but there are many, many people who don't have a voice, and this is to help them. On that note, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you for all attending.